Hello, hello. We are live. Live stream is happening. Just going to wait a couple of minutes for some people to connect and then I will get started. A lot's going on. It's been pretty hectic couple of weeks for the show, and the timing of the vacation and the upcoming trip, conference, all that stuff. I'll talk about all of it, and it's just all none of it was by design. And the timing with relation to the YouTube ad boycott of everything that's been going on has been really coincidental. So if this is your first live stream, first and foremost, answers to common questions. Number one, is this really live? It is really live, unless you're watching a replay. The time is now 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on April 24th, 2017. If it is that time, then this is live. And if it is some other time, then you are watching an archived version of this live stream. Number two, Super Chat is on. You can use Super Chat. That is the $sign towards the bottom of the comment window, I guess it would be called. And Super Chat questions and comments will be read, answered if they are questions. Number three, new members and patrons get live thank yous and shout outs during the stream. You can go to davidpakman.com/membership to sign up for membership, and you can go to patreon.com/davidpakmanshow to become a patron. Those are two different ways to support the show. We are independent media and mostly audience supported, particularly lately. And I will talk about that a little bit more. Number four, there are moderators in the chat. Obvious trolling and hate will get you banned. Anti-Semitism, insulting other people personally, racism, all that stuff. Just don't do it. It'll get you banned. And subtle trolling probably won't, if it's subtle enough that the great moderators don't notice that. So it's been hectic at the show the last few weeks. On March 31st, we had the horrible situation with the YouTube advertiser boycott, where all ads effectively stopped playing on the David Pakman Show YouTube channel as a result of controversy involving a Wall Street Journal article about ads for big companies like Coca-Cola supposedly appearing on racist videos, something which really isn't the problem. I mean, when you're serving billions and billions of hours of videos, there are going to be anecdotal instances where an ad plays on a video that should not be eligible for monetization, but by and large, it was not a problem. That was really bad for the David Pakman Show YouTube channel. Now, we had a planned vacation for the show, April 12 to 20, I believe, April 14 to 20. And that was planned months in advance. So obviously the timing wasn't great because we were dealing with the YouTube advertiser boycott, but alas, it was planned. So we did it, and I will update you on what happened with the YouTube ad boycott during that time. And then in addition to that, I was back in studio today. We did a full new show today in studio, but then I'm already out again tomorrow. Ben Dixon will be guest hosting tomorrow because I'll be traveling to Las Vegas to the Mass Torts Made Perfect conference, which is attorney and friend of the show Mike Papantonio's conference. A number of progressive media people will be there, including Sam Cedar will be there. Who else will be there? I guess I don't know, but Sam will be there. And I go there twice a year, broadcast from there. So I will be broadcasting from there the rest of the week, just not tomorrow because it's a travel day. So it's been very, very hectic, needless to say. And the news has not stopped. I mean, today on the show, I caught everybody up on the March for Science. My view was the fact that something called the March for Science even seems so necessary as to be as successful as it was is actually really scary. The fact that the scientific, standing up and saying we should value the scientific method, the fact that that is even something to go protest about tells us we're in pretty damn rough shape right now. We talked about Jeff Sessions wanting to arrest WikiLeaks' Julian Assange on today's show. I did some of the more popular pictures from my trip from my Instagram account, david.pakman. We talked about the YouTube ad boycott. I'll follow up on that. I talked about the second Obamacare replacement that we are expecting from Republicans to get the full details of and an analysis of any day. It's not looking good. We also talked about Dow Chemical donating $1 million to Donald Trump and now wanting a pesticide study ignored. I talked about Bill O'Reilly being fired for the same thing that Donald Trump admitted to doing. on video recording, by the way, and also pointed out that Donald Trump's 100-day approval rating is the worst for any president since 1945. So it was a busy show. And then on the bonus show today, Pat and I both talked about our respective vacations during last week's break. So it was a busy show, busy bonus show, and it'll be a busy week. Of course, the bonus show accessible instantly to people who sign up for membership at davidpakman.com/membership. And I told a number of different stories related to my trip, some funny, some more serious. And I think people will enjoy hearing about that. Let me very briefly talk about a couple breaking news stories that I won't be able to talk about tomorrow on the show since I'll be traveling, but maybe Ben Dixon gets full control of the show when he guest hosts, and he might talk about the story. The entire U.S. Senate has been called to the White House for a briefing on North Korea. There's a CNBC article about this telling us that top Trump administration officials will be holding a rare briefing on Wednesday at the White House for the entire U.S. Senate on the situation in North Korea. All 100 senators have been asked to go to the White House for the briefing by Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, DNI Dan Coats, and General Joseph Dunford, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's common that administration officials will go to Capitol Hill to address members of Congress on foreign policy and national security issues. It's much less common for the 100-member Senate to go to an event at the White House, especially one where all four of these national security officials are involved. So what's going to happen? I don't know. One would imagine, being Monday, that if the situation in North Korea were so urgent that military action were necessary immediately to protect national security, that they wouldn't schedule this for 48 hours from now. But again, this is complete and total speculation. This is the Trump administration, after all, which is sort of fumbling around in the dark, and who on earth knows what it is that they're thinking. So we don't know what to expect, but we will absolutely be talking about that. The briefing is at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, so more than likely we will learn about the outcome around 4 or 5 Eastern time on Wednesday, which is after when the show is produced. So more than likely we'll talk about the outcome of that on the Thursday show. House aides said that they're also working with the White House to set up a similar briefing for members of the House of Representatives. So what does this mean? We don't know, but it probably is not the type of meeting you call if you're just going to say, hey, everybody, we're not at all concerned about North Korea and we plan to do nothing. Thanks for stopping by, right? If you plan something like this, it's probably because you have concerns about North Korea and you plan to do something. So that is news that is breaking. Some of the other top stories from the David Pakman Show Reddit discussion forum, which you can join at davidpakman.com/Reddit. Number one, there are a couple of articles, including one that's been posted to our Reddit discussion forum, which are saying that the Fox News sexual harassment scandal may not stop with just Roger Ailes and now more recently Bill O'Reilly, that Sean Hannity may be the next Fox News male to be taken down by sexual harassment claims. This is an article from deadstate.org, and it alleges that Sean Hannity also has a growing list of accusers when it comes to sexual harassment. And that would be even more interesting because Bill O'Reilly's right-wing persona was always kind of bogus. I mean, we always sort of knew that it was a persona that he played on Fox News, and it may not have been completely true or genuine. Sean Hannity, on the other hand, the idea was, we were led to believe that when it came to Sean Hannity, he really was the completely upstanding Christian blah, 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 blah. And thus, if we were indeed to learn that Sean Hannity was wrapped up in this entire thing, I'm reading that morale is very low at Fox News right now, that some key executives just haven't been showing up lately to work, and that nobody knows what the future is there, and that things are really, really bad, with a number of 50 advertisers being pulled from the O'Reilly show. And it's not clear how that's affecting Fox News' bottom line more broadly. So we'll be following that story. Also from the Reddit discussion forum, a Washington Post article has been posted called "The Hotbed of Anti-Semitism Isn't a Foreign Country, It's College Campuses," a new report says. I've been talking about that issue for a couple of years. I believe that that is a major issue in the United States. Anti-Semitism under the guise of, progressive critiques of Israeli foreign policy have become relatively widespread on college campuses. It's become very popular as a pseudo-progressive, maybe putatively progressive litmus test. And it's been something I've been concerned about. And this is the Washington Post, the same Washington Post that has done excellent critical reporting of the Trump administration, connections to Russia, etc. Not exactly some kind of right-wing bomb-throwing publication, has a report on this, and I encourage you to check it out. It is very, very interesting. And a lot of other good articles. There's a discussion on the Reddit discussion forum at davidpakman.com/Reddit about the Justice Department increasingly being interested in going after WikiLeaks' Julian Assange. That's a story that made it onto the show today. Very interesting story. There's a lot there in terms of what it means regarding a sort of red line that you're crossing. There's a long history in the U.S. Of going after leakers and whistleblowers who are taking or publishing information that is classified or otherwise secret. But that typically tended to stop before it went to going after, prosecuting the media publishers of that information. And now, if indeed there is going to be prosecution, now whether anything could happen, right? I mean, Julian Assange has been in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for a very long time. There's no indication that the new Ecuadorian president has any interest in extraditing Assange. But regardless, if there were an attempt made to prosecute Assange and thus the actions at WikiLeaks, that would be crossing a red line. And you could argue, well, but David, WikiLeaks isn't exactly a media entity the way that the New York Times is. That may be, but there's no doubt that WikiLeaks is not the agency that obtained the information. They were given a lot of those documents by Chelsea Manning, and that would absolutely be a pretty big crossing of a line that I would be very concerned about in terms of what it would mean for journalists. So that's a story that we talked about today. An article posted about the French election to the David Pakman Show Reddit, and I didn't comment on the French election today. It is going to a runoff, which is going to take place, I believe, on May 7th, basically 2 weeks from the date of yesterday's original election. Marine Le Pen will be in that runoff, and I do not anticipate that Le Pen is going to win. But we will absolutely be all over that on May 8th. It was a very, very busy show today, so we did not get to that. There's also a very interesting discussion started by J473 on our Reddit discussion forum, called "Why Do People Hate Jews?" And it's a reaction to the piece we did recently on the show by the same name, where I believe it was someone called in to the show saying, why do so many people hate Jews? I speculated a little bit, and it's actually generally a pretty good discussion. You would anticipate that such a discussion would bring in a lot of trolls. And I don't know if it's that the moderators have been doing a good job of keeping the trolling to a minimum, or if that people are actually taking the conversation seriously. But it's quite a good discussion there that's going on. Okay, let's deal with Super Chat real quick, and then I'll talk about some other things that are going on. Ian D sent a $2 Super Chat. How much revenue have you made up with fundraising? So I've been advised by a lot of people to be pretty careful in terms of just anything related to talking about YouTube revenue. So I'm going to try to be very sort of careful in my language. Patreon is, we're at roughly 1,500 patrons on Patreon, and that's given us a great jump on making up lost YouTube revenue. So that is going pretty well, and we're hoping to continue growing that. And we've seen a big influx of members at davidpakman.com/membership as well. So how much of the revenue has been made up? It's not clear. We've gotten a great, the first 10 days of the YouTube ad boycott saw a really big move in the direction of making up the lost revenue. It's since, people get fatigued, and even though the YouTube ad boycott is still going on, people are getting sort of numb to the reality that it's going on, and thus the urgency of membership and of donating on Patreon has probably gone down, abated a little bit. And I anticipated that was going to happen. So we're going to have to keep going. I guess this is as good a time as any to jump into what's going on with the YouTube ad boycott. So the very quick summary is that on March 31st, YouTube flipped a switch and turned on a new ad algorithm that determines when ads play on YouTube videos. Prior to March 31st, the average monetization rate for our YouTube channel was 60%. That meant that on average, 60% of the playbacks on our channel had an ad that played. For every 100,000 views, that was roughly 60,000 ads that played. On March 31st, that effectively went to zero. I think it was something like 50 monetized views or something like that out of hundreds of thousands of total views on our channel. So we were making pennies, basically. What's happened since then? Basically, from March 31st through April 11th, I believe it was, the channel made really no money other than super chat money and a little bit of YouTube Red money. April 12th and 13th, we saw a little bit of a bump, and I started to think, okay, well, maybe this is going to improve. We maybe made something like 12 or 15% of what we had been making on YouTube on April 12th and 13th. And then April 14th, it just fell right back off, and we've basically been at 3 to 5% monetization. So that's roughly, about 7% monetization. Which has led to about 3 to 5% of the revenue that we were making. So it's really, really bad. It's bad, and I don't know, we saw a little bit of an uptick on April 21st and 22nd, and I really don't know what's going on, but the urgency on our end for replacing the lost revenue hasn't changed, because as this thing is, we were here, and now it's basically hovering between here and here. So whether it's 3, 5, 7, or 9% of the revenue we used to have, it's still leaving 90 to 97% of the revenue to be made up so far. So there's 2 ways that we're doing that. And there's really 5 ways to support the show. The main ones are, number 1, and I don't know what happened there. Looks like I lost that. Okay. Number 1 is that you can go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Okay, there's a link in the description, and we are approaching 1,500 patrons. I've said before that if and when we reach 2,000 individual patrons, I will do an entire show with my hair like this, which is what happens when I don't put any product in my hair. And this is a very scary vision to some, but I think it'll be interesting if I did an entire show in the studio like that. So again, we started the stream with 1,467 patrons. When we get to 2,000, I will do a show with my hair like that. But regardless of that, this is very, very democratic, because we are targeting a number of patrons, not an amount of money. The goal is 2,000. So whether you can pledge $1 a month or $2 a month or $10 a month or whatever, we're going patron by patron. And the really important thing to consider here is when YouTube was fully monetizing our channel, we estimated that if you watched all of our videos every month, all 160 videos per month, which most people didn't, but if you did, we were probably earning 35 to 50 cents from your viewership. So if you just contribute $1, you more than cover what we lost from you as an individual. That's all I'm asking for. Just help us replace those 50 cents. And if you can do $1, you're basically covering yourself and one other viewer. And that is already huge, okay? And while we've been chatting here, Joaquim Tiverinen has pledged $2, so we're now up to 1,468 patrons. Anybody who pledges during the stream, I will absolutely give you a shout out and a thank you. So thanks to Joachim. The other option is membership. Okay, membership has a long laundry list of benefits that you get, including, rather than watching the 3 to 5 minute YouTube clips that we put up on our YouTube channel, every day, usually around 4:30 p.m. Eastern, we put out the full 1 hour show from that day in one video. This is only available to members. So instead of waiting, because we publish each story about every 90 minutes, starting at 4:30, you can skip all that. If you're a member, you get the entire 1 hour show, sans commercials, without commercials, right at 4:30 p.m. And we have a membership code, which if you go to davidpakman.com/membership and select your membership monthly or yearly, you hit that red sign up button. On the second page, under the coupon code field, if you were to type in, now you don't have to do this, if you want a 40% discount off of membership, you can type in coupon code IVoted17, and that will give you a 40% discount, which I happen to think is pretty cool. Okay, so that's something you can opt for or opt not to do, but it's fantastic either way because it's helping us replace that lost revenue. And on that note, Tyler Dennis has signed up for a yearly membership at davidpakman.com/membership. Also, Israel Aguayo has just pledged $5 at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. So thanks to everybody who's been contributing and signing up. We are doing, we're just grinding it out. I mean, day to day, we are doing what we can to make up the revenue that we have lost due to the YouTube advertiser boycott. And anybody else who either signs up for membership or becomes a patron during the stream, I will sing your praises. But I'll get back to that in a little bit, okay? A few other issues I want to talk about. The U.S. Embassy in the United Kingdom is promoting Donald Trump's resort, Mar-a-Lago, on its website. So Trump is golfing, or I guess he watches cable news in the morning. The State Department is advertising Donald Trump's private club in Florida, okay? If you're an American, your taxpayer dollars are paying for this. This is totally unacceptable. And I predicted, not that it took any amazing powers of foresight, but I predicted that because there is just scandal after scandal after scandal with the Trump administration, what under the Obama administration, where the biggest scandal was he one day wore a tan suit when talking about serious issues. If President Obama had done any of these things, if President Obama had a business, number one, if he hadn't completely cleared that conflict of interest before becoming president, Republicans would have lost it, but forget about that for a second. If the State Department was promoting President Obama's private club on its website, it would have been 24/7 news coverage on right-wing media, Rush, Sean Hannity, O'Reilly when he had a show on Fox News. But because everything is a scandal, I mean, it is scandal after scandal with Donald Trump, this barely even registers. And it is, you could call your representatives about this. It's not a bad idea. You can get in touch and say that this is absolutely outrageous. With a Republican Congress and a Republican House, is anybody going to look into this? I genuinely am skeptical about that. Number two, there's an NBC News poll that shows 73% of Americans currently back an independent investigation into Russian election interference. Now, the wording of this is different than an investigation into Trump-Russia collusion. It's slightly different. And I think if worded as Trump-Russia collusion, you would see a lower number than 73. But this is telling us that increasingly the Russia scandal is less partisan than just split down party lines, because you don't get 73% of Americans agreeing on anything if it doesn't cross some party lines. All right, so that's a very interesting poll, and I'll probably talk about it on the program. We did a story on the bonus show recently about effectively what is a sort of detention of gay men in Chechnya. It has now been discovered that there are 4 additional off-the-record sort of black site jails illegally, it's not like this is legal in Chechnya, illegally holding gay men. Those have been discovered. The MoscowTimes.com is reporting on that. And this is a story that's gotten some pickup. We covered it pretty early on the David Pakman Show bonus show, but it is now getting more and more coverage, and it is stunning that this is going on, and not in the usual places where you would expect it, although really at this point I'm not surprised about too much. Fox News has more problems than just sexual harassment by men of women. 9 black employees are now suing Fox News for racial harassment. Media Matters is reporting on that. We will probably discuss that on the program upcoming. Today is Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. I get questions almost yearly about whether I am an Armenian genocide denier, and I genuinely don't know why. Number one, I've never even suggested that I'm an Armenian genocide denier. And number two, I'm not like a big conspiracy guy. And the historical record is pretty clear about the Armenian genocide. And I am on the side of the historical record. So if anybody has any sense of why there are regularly questions asked of me about whether I deny the Armenian genocide, I mean, it's not, the Armenian genocide has never been a big topic on our show, but that is not to me, it wouldn't mean to me that the default, the assumption would be that I deny the Armenian genocide by any means. By any means. So no, I do not deny the Armenian genocide. Let's take a look at a super chat that has come in. Will Be My End sent a $2 super chat. What did you think about yesterday's El Clásico? So El Clásico, or the classic, as it would be translated from Spanish to English, is when 2 Spanish soccer teams, Real Madrid and Barcelona, play against each other, okay? And it is a big rivalry. It also is a one that involves a number of Argentinian men's national team players. Of course, I'm from Argentina. I follow Argentinian soccer. I don't follow the league within Argentina. But I do follow the U.S. Or the Argentinian men's national team pretty closely. Barcelona won yesterday, 3-2. I'm not huge, I'm a big Leo Messi fan, so it's sort of easy for me to say I am a Barcelona guy over Real Madrid. But quite frankly, I just want to see a good game. And that's my thing. I don't get too wrapped up one way or the other, but it's always interesting when the two teams come together. And I'm sort of I guess this is as good a time as any to talk about this. I've talked about feeling very, very mixed about the upcoming World Cups because there's an upcoming World Cup in Qatar. And Qatar is a place that has major human rights issues. And we also, so 2018 is in Russia and 2022 is in Qatar. 2018 in Russia, I mean, I already am listen, let's not, we've talked enough about Russia. Let's not talk about Russia right now hosting the World Cup. Although, yeah, probably there's significant corruption going on. Also, it's pretty much undisputable at this point that there was significant corruption in the decision to host the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Number one, it is so hot in Qatar in the summer that the latest I read was that they are looking at actually hosting the World Cup in winter, which is really just a very forced and going out of the way to go outside of the normal protocol. It's going to lead to players having conflicts with their normal league play in many cases. I mean, it's just a disaster. But the stadiums in Qatar are being built by effectively what we call slaves, right? These are individuals who go to Qatar, or it happens in other countries. Their passports are seized. They're indentured servants or slaves, use whatever term you want. The human rights conditions are just an absolute disaster. And I'm so against the World Cup being in Qatar. but I love the World Cup. I really do. And it's only every 4 years that, outside of Copa America and some other smaller tournaments, that I get to follow the Argentinian men's national team. So will I watch? Yes. And I've spoken to Dave Zirin about this numerous times, about whether it's morally okay to watch the World Cup, but to advocate for change and for solving the rampant corruption within FIFA. I don't know if it's just because we want to feel better about it. Dave Zirin said that, yes, you can watch the soccer games and still advocate for change. I guess I'm going with that because, makes me feel a little bit better. But maybe I shouldn't be watching the World Cup. Maybe I should be boycotting. I don't know. Okay, real quick. Cesar Del Rey has asked in the comments, David, why am I having moderators delete messages from the opposition? Can't you handle the criticism? I can handle criticism. The moderators are deleting trolling messages, and I have full confidence in the moderators to manage that. And I am seeing criticisms there. And in fact, Andrew Duffy just sent a $2.69 super chat saying David is fake news and is bad for America. Okay. I mean, if that was worth $2.69, I don't think you're going to convince too many people that we are fake news. Watch our piece about fake news, by the way. We have an excellent piece about fake news, which talks about the difference between fake news and propaganda news. And, if anybody wants to point out, if I've parroted any fake news during this live stream, by all means, tell me. Erica Nelson sent a $5 super chat. Couple things. Number one, who in the Trump administration would you most want to interview? Donald Trump. If it's not Trump, assuming that you mean not Trump, who else would that be? I guess I'd be interested in interviewing Kellyanne Conway, only because I think she actually knows exactly what's going on and realizes the absurdity, but just hasn't been able to talk about it because of the position she's in. And she's actually imploded on air many times and now is not doing media anymore. But if I could interview her, with her having taken some kind of, been given some truth serum, I would be interested in interviewing her. Costume Cinematográfico has sent a $5 Canadian super chat. Why is my apartment beige? It's actually not beige. I think it's the white balance of my camera and the lighting, because the lighting is slightly yellow. That makes it look beige, but the walls are gray, the windowsills are white, and the shades are another white. There's actually, the only thing that's actually beige in this room is in this art here. Let's see if I can point to it. The bottom and top bars of this piece of art, and I guess this lamp, this is slightly beige. And then over here, that's kind of a beige color. But other than that, there's actually not beige in this room, which is interesting that it looks that way. I guess because of the white balance that's going on. Okay, let's see what else we've got here in Super Chat. Andrew Duffy has again sent a $2.69 Super Chat. David is not fake news and is good for America. Okay, so Andrew Duffy very, very quickly changing his mind on that. Clarth1234 sending a $2 Australian super chat. Any update on the Spanish videos coming in May? Yeah, I've talked about that. I'm generally open to the idea of doing something in Spanish, and that there's probably a pretty big audience for Spanish language political analysis of American politics. We're looking into what sort of logistics might make that a possibility. It's complex. I don't exactly know yet what's going to happen, but I have not forgotten about it. Let me do a couple thank yous, okay? Number one, as far as Patreon goes, and we are targeting 2,000 patrons on Patreon, we have new pledges. We have a $1 pledge from Stephen Rowell. We have a $10 pledge from Andre Serzisco and a $2 pledge from Jonathan McKinney. That gets us to 1,472 patrons. Please, please, please keep pledging during the live stream, and I will continue doing live shout outs and thank yous to people who sign up. As far as membership goes, you can sign up at davidpakman.com/membership. Normal rates, I think, are very reasonable. You can get membership starting at $6 a month or $60 for an entire year, which makes it like $5 a month. But if those rates are high, and I understand that $60 or even $6 a month can be too much for some people, you can use the coupon code IVoted17, and that coupon code will get you a 40% discount. On the second page of the sign-up process, you enter the coupon code IVoted17. That is exactly what Nancy Cranford just did, signing up for a yearly membership with the coupon code IVoted17. Very, very much appreciated, Nancy. I really appreciate that. So please keep it coming, and we will keep doing the live shout-outs and thank yous. A couple of other things that I want to mention. We did a story. I'm already seeing in the chat talk about suppressing free speech and all this stuff because moderators are blocking people. There's a video that we did on our YouTube channel, and let me get the exact name. Was it banned or blocked? How did we word it? I think it's like, how likely is it that you'll get banned? Let me make sure. How likely are you to be banned? And I actually put up the number of people banned or blocked on each of our different social platforms, including YouTube. It is such an infinitesimally small percentage of the people on our Facebook page, my personal Twitter account, my personal Instagram, the show Twitter account, and YouTube. The percentage of people that get blocked or banned is so low because we tolerate so much. It is only obvious trolling that gets to the point of being a distraction and really just creating a negative environment for people who are just trying to watch what we're doing that it will get you banned. So please don't come with that stuff. Almost nobody is banned. You really have to get our attention in an incredibly significant way for us to block you. One other thing. A few people are talking about what's going on with Venezuela. We are in talks right now to get, how do I want to say this? I don't want to give away who it is because it might not happen. A very important Venezuelan elected official on the program. Okay, this is someone that I've been told by an intermediary that knows them personally that this individual has already agreed that they would be willing to be on the David Pakman Show. And at this point, we're just trying to work out logistics. So that is very, very interesting to me because that is a major story, and we're going to be talking about what's going on in Venezuela sooner than later. Let's get to a few other super chats here. Downstream01 has sent a £2 super chat. Are you planning on doing another video with Secular Talk? There's no plan right now, but I'm always up for talking to Kyle, and I would be up for doing a super chat, no doubt about it. ML Romero has sent a $5 super chat. David, it's good to see that you are back. It's good to be back. Thank you very much. Clarth1234 has sent a $2 Australian super chat. Interview Tim Pool and talk about Antifa or Antifa. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Yeah, I'm up for interviewing Tim. That would be interesting. His YouTube channel has been growing quite a bit. So I'm up for doing that. We're right now. I mean, sometimes people are not totally clear, and why would they be, of how far in advance we book. We book interviews pretty far in advance sometimes. I'll tell you what's on the calendar right now. There's some really good stuff coming up. Okay, so today we were back from being on break, so I didn't want to do an interview. I wanted the full show to just do stories to try to get caught up. Tomorrow is my travel day. I'm traveling out to a conference in Las Vegas where I will be coming to you live from. So Ben Dixon's guest hosting tomorrow, so no interview. Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be doing a 2-part interview with Natasha Dow Schull. And Natasha Dow Schull is the author of this book, Addiction by Design. This is a really, really good book. about casino design and machine gambling, slot machines, digital slot machines, and she's going to be great. And how fitting that I'll be talking to her about the book she wrote based on research she did mostly in Las Vegas when I am in Las Vegas. That gets us to the end of this week. Next week, on Monday, we will start off the week with Brian Klass, who has a new book called The Despot's Accomplice, How the West is Aiding and Abetting the Decline of Democracy. I don't think I have to explain to you why that's relevant, right? I think at this point that's pretty evident. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to do a two-part interview with the great Richard Wolff. Richard Wolff, an economist who in retirement from teaching at the University of Massachusetts, my alma mater, has become increasingly well known. But I've known him for, how long? Wait, 2000? I think I've known him for like 14 years at this point, which is insane. But he was my introductory macroeconomics professor at the University of Massachusetts, the first college-level econ that I took on my way to subsequent undergraduate and graduate degrees in economics. Econ 104 was the class, and we've stayed in touch, and he's been a frequent guest on the show. We are going to talk with him about how what we've observed, what we have observed during the first 100 days of Trump's presidency is further evidence that capitalism is not working in many ways for many people right now. I think that is going to be very, very interesting. And then on May 4th, we'll be speaking to Gordon Lafer, who has a new book called The 1% Solution, How Corporations Are Remaking America One State at a Time. Very interesting about state control, corporate control at the state level, okay? So that's good. Now, we're booked even beyond that. We just confirmed this, on May 8th, I recently recommended this book. This is a book by a former FBI hostage negotiator, Chris Voss, called Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as if Your Life Depended on It. This is not an academic book, okay? It's a very quick read, and you can get through it in a few hours. It is fascinating, and we are going to talk. And this is amazing. I told producer Pat, hey, let's add Chris Voss, the author of the book, former FBI hostage negotiator. Let's add Chris Voss to our list of people we want to interview. And because we did a segment recommending the book, his publicist actually reached out to us saying, we loved your recommendation of the book. Do you have any interest in interviewing Chris Voss? To which the answer was, of course, yes, we just haven't reached out to you yet, but we absolutely want to interview Chris Voss. So that's going to be a two-part interview on May 8th and 9th. And then we also already have an interview booked for May 11th. We're going to talk to Susan Bordeaux about her book, The Destruction of Hillary Clinton. Very interesting about what's happened to Hillary Clinton's political career and what, if any, future there is there. And then later in May, I'll be interviewing Elizabeth Currid-Halkett, who's the author of this book, which I have here, The Sum of Small Things, which is not about Donald Trump's hands or other body parts about him that you might think of as a result of the title of this book, but it is a theory about what the author calls the aspirational class. It's not the upper class, but it's the aspirational class, which could actually spread across a number of different economic classes, and it relates to inequality and a lot of other things. So really, really good stuff coming up. Really good stuff coming up here. And I think that it will be a good month as far as interviews go. And you know what? If you don't care about interviews, some people just don't care about the interviews that we do. The great thing is you don't have to watch them. You can just watch the other stuff, and hopefully you will enjoy that as well. Okay, a few other thank yous to do. Let's see. Shane Proler has just upped his pledge at patreon.com/David Pakman Show from $2 a month to $5.50 a month. We are attempting to replace the 90 to 97% reduction we're experiencing in YouTube ad revenue due to what is known as the YouTube advertiser boycott with something called Patreon. Patreon.com/David Pakman Show is where you can check it out, pledge, and I will continue live thank yous. Wendy Martinez has also become a member at davidpakman.com/membership. Of course, you can get a huge discount off of membership, 40% off, by using the coupon code IVoted17 at davidpakman.com/membership. Also, big thank yous to Sonia Rasmussen, Tim Gray, and Alf Pryor. All of whom signed up at davidpakman.com/membership during the stream. Thank you very, very much. I really, really appreciate that. And also, thanks to everybody who has been sending super chats during the stream that we have had going on today. A couple of other things that are coming up on the show that I want to talk about. I am looking into doing a few. So many of you are probably familiar with our long form segments. Okay, we've been doing these for at this point about a year and 3 months. Many of them have been researched, produced, and or edited by producer Noah Ferguson, who's been doing a heck of a job. I'm looking at doing what I would call not a long form piece, sort of a medium form piece. So it wouldn't be like a 20 or 25 minute piece, but it might be the type of thing where we take the entire first segment of the show, which can range anywhere from 10 to 14 minutes, and flesh out a topic. Like, for example, here's one example. I've talked before about how there's patriotism and nationalism that make more sense to me and strike me as healthier than the type of right-wing patriotism and nationalism that we often see related to, the military or just sort of amorphous claims about how great America is. I think that there's a lot there to flesh out in maybe a 12-minute piece. People have asked when I've suggested this before, is this going to be like a Dave Rubin direct message? Not really. It's not really going to be that. It's not going to take a sort of monologue form, but it'll be sort of a longer time spent on one topic. And I've talked before about some of these ideas. Pride in cities, or a well-functioning system of social supports. Those are the things that make sense to me to say, this is what I'm proud about my country. And sort of logical versus retrograde patriotism is one idea that I have for that. Another one would be nationalist versus collectivist solutions. I've talked a lot lately in small bursts about how it doesn't really, we're at a particular time where the sort of nationalist ideas of someone like Donald Trump make acutely no sense given what's going on in the world. And that when we talk about an issue like climate change, pollution, the replacement of labor by automation, these are issues that go beyond imaginary borders drawn on maps and delineated with fencing around the world. And that we're at a time where collectivist solutions are actually more necessary than ever. This doesn't mean one world government or Alex Jones type conspiracies. It just means a lot of the issues that we're dealing with on this planet lend themselves more to collectivist solutions right now, which can still be administered by individual countries. I think that's another idea. Another idea for a medium form piece, maybe a 12 to 14 minute discussion. What makes up a healthier media diet, right? And a lot of this has to do with long-term versus short-term news. I'm making the effort, particularly with especially the nonfiction books that I'm reading, to really spend my time reading about issues that are going to matter beyond just this month or even this year. And when I talk about the news that's going on, what are we talking about with Obamacare or North Korea or whatever, the context should be, how is this more broadly going to affect us at a longer term, right? And this gets away from sort of gossip type journalism. And I think that relates to the media diet that the average news consumer can try to sort of tailor and fine tune for themselves. So these are some of my ideas for medium form pieces. If you have other ideas, by all means, let me know. If you think this is a terrible idea, obviously let me know as well. Jules M has sent a $10 super chat. What is the update on YouTube? I heard something the other day, and they obviously downplayed how many people it affected. Yeah, so I did a brief update at the beginning, or sort of towards the beginning of the stream. Couple things going on. Number one, our revenue has not come back. We initially had a 99, effectively 100%, right? I mean, we were making pennies a day reduction in ad revenue on YouTube. We saw a return for 2 days earlier in the month to about 12 to 15%, and then it just fell off a cliff. April 21st and 22nd, which are the most recent days I have data for, we saw a tiny bit of a spike, maybe back to like 12% of what we had typically been making. But we are down for the month, and we're already at the 24th of the month. For the entire month, the channel is probably going to make about 12 to 15% of what it normally does. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that some of the live streams I did on April 2nd, 3rd, 4th, around there, had a ton of super chat revenue, which has helped to make up a little bit the lost revenue. But from ad revenue this month will probably be at about 6 or 7% of what it typically is. So it's bad. It's really, really bad. We're doing everything we can to raise money on Patreon to replace the lost income. If you can afford $1 a month, okay, this is not one of those situations where you should say, I can't do anything big, so I'll do nothing. If you can afford $1 a month, do the $1 a month. Right now, we have 793 people who are pledging $2 a month. That's nearly $1,600 a month from people who are only pledging $2 a month. And there's a lot of people just pledging $1 a month. So don't let the lack of ability to pledge a ton of money stop you, because the whole idea is we're just trying to replace what individuals were providing by watching ads on our channel. If you watched every ad on our channel in a month, you were probably contributing about 35 to 50 cents to us. So all we're asking for is just $1, right? Just throw in $1 a month. And if we get, a few thousand people doing that, we're going to be in really, really good shape. The other thing we're still doing, of course, and most people are aware of this, is membership. You can sign up for membership at davidpakman.com/membership. We do an entire extra show every day. What you see on YouTube is not everything that is available. We do an extra show every single day for our paid subscribers. It's called The Bonus Show, and you can get access to that every day if you become a member at davidpakman.com. You can also use the coupon code IVoted17. The normal membership rates, I think, are very, very reasonable, but they are too high for some folks, and that's okay. You can use the coupon code IVoted17 to sign up, and I will continue doing live shout-outs and thank yous during the stream. So that's the latest update, Jules. I don't know what will ultimately come of it, but I'm not hugely optimistic. I'm planning for the worst. Obviously, I'm still hoping for the best, but I'm absolutely planning for the worst. Aconite Blossom has sent a $4 Canadian super chat with no question or comment. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Clarth1234 has sent a $5 Australian super chat. Add some stretch goals to the Patreon to give people more incentive to up their donation. Also, do a long form piece on Antifa and U.S. cable news. Well, the goal right now is pretty stretched, Clarth, because we are only at about a quarter of the way to the goal, even though we've been running the Patreon now for more than 3 weeks. So in a way, it is a stretch goal. And I don't know exactly what you mean as far as more of a stretch goal, but we've been doing it for 3 weeks and we're at a quarter of the way to the goal. So I'm not sure what you mean, but I'm certainly up for it. If you send over some ideas, a lot of the stuff we do and have done on the show is directly at the sort of suggestion of the audience. And Clarth saying 6,000 do a Spanish video, 7,000 Pat takes his shirt off. Are people really interested in seeing Pat take his shirt off? Is that something people are interested in doing? Yeah, I'd probably have to talk to Pat. I don't want to have a situation where it starts to become something like sexual harassment. But I don't know. I guess it's something that I can talk to Pat about. But we're probably not doing shirts off. Okay, probably not doing shirts off. So that's what's going on so far. Today's live stream is not going to be particularly long. I have to pack. I have to plan a bunch of stuff as I head out tomorrow to the conference in Las Vegas, Mass Torts Made Perfect, with Mike Papantonio, Sam Cedar. I'm not sure if Tom Hartman is going to be around this time, but I am hoping to come to you live. I will be doing the show from Las Vegas the rest of the week, other than tomorrow. And I will also be hopefully doing some live streams from Las Vegas. Maybe Sam Cedar will join me on a live stream. Maybe Tom Hartman will join me on a live stream. I don't know, but I will hope to do some of that stuff. Luca sent a $5 Canadian super chat. An idea for a fundraising goal. If you hit X number of Patreon patrons, Pat has to talk with the thick Boston accent we know he has for an entire show. Yeah, Pat has talked about how, depending on who he's with, his Boston accent will sometimes be noticeable. I don't hear it at all when Pat talks, but maybe it will come out. I don't know. But that's an interesting one. All right. So on that note, that's it for now. I will be streaming again soon, probably from Las Vegas next time you hear from me.